Welcome back, and today I'm going to make peppermint stick cookies. It's one of my favorite Christmas cookies that I make every year, and the family and friends love them. And I'm first going to start out with a disclaimer, because I actually take peppermint sticks and I break them up, and I also use pecans. So I'm holding up the disclaimer about these cookies. Give you a minute to look that over. These cookies are very delicious, but you have to be careful when you eat them. So, the first step is to crush up your peppermint sticks. So the peppermint sticks come like this, and you can buy them in a box or in a big plastic tub. And so the first thing I do is I cut off the top, and I put them in a Ziploc storage bag. And that's the first thing that I do. So some of them you can actually just push the peppermint stick right through the plastic, and some of them you have to cut off depending on what type of plastic they use. So you fill a bag, a plastic bag with peppermint sticks like this. And I'm going to show you. So I have a cutting board, wooden cutting board. A plastic one might break. And I have a giant oversized spoon, or you can use a meat tenderizer. That works good. I couldn't find my meat tenderizer mallet. So close your Ziploc storage bag, and you put a whole bunch of peppermint sticks in here, and you proceed to crush up the peppermint sticks. Okay. So this is very loud. This is a very loud process. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera for a second. I'm going to do the rest. Okay, so here we are, and this is the consistency we're looking for. And I always love these cookies, and I give some away and everything. So I always double the recipe. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of peppermint sticks. So I am going to make sure that I have 2 cups of peppermint sticks. So I'm going to set this aside, and I actually earlier got 2 cups of peppermint sticks and put them in a container. So this particular container on the back, it says 2 cups. So I didn't even have to measure it out. All I had to do was just pour it into this container. So that was nice. So this is what it's looking like here. Okay. And so it's all ready to go. So that's the first step. I always do this ahead of time before I start mixing any of the batter. And then the next thing it calls for is 1 cup of pecans, and since I'm doubling it, I'm going to do 2 cups of pecans, and they're 2 cups of pecans crushed. Now if you don't like pecans but you like walnuts, you can substitute it, no problem. So I like pecans, and I think it tastes really good with the peppermint sticks. But yes, you can substitute for a different type of nut if that's what you choose to do. So I had a whole bunch of pecans. I put them in my food processor using the chop blade, and then I measured it out. But you can buy, you know, minced or crushed pecans already done for you. So depending what you want to do. So I have that ready to go. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this out of the way, and I'm going to start measuring out our ingredients. Okay, so now the first ingredient is 1.5 cups of white sugar. So I am doubling the recipe, so I'm going to use 3 cups of white sugar. So when measuring out sugar, you always want to make sure that you level it off. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. Now, one of the things is a tip, especially if you're just starting out baking. My daughter and I, we personally like to count out loud. Even if no one's here, you're home alone, whatever the case may be, if you count out loud, I feel like you're less likely to mess up the recipe. So that's what my daughter and I do. We count out loud so that we don't mess up. Okay, so the next ingredient is butter, and the recipe calls for 1 cup of butter, and I'm doubling it, so I need 2 cups of butter. And in the instructions on making this, it says the preparations: cream, sugar, and butter together. So those are the first ingredients I'm doing. So I have, and I set this butter out on the counter a little while ago to just have it soften up a little. So you'll find on your sticks of butter, each stick of butter is 8 tablespoons, which is a half a cup. And I need, because I'm doubling it, I need 2 cups. So this is a half a cup, this is a half a cup. So that's 1 cup. And then I have another half a cup and another half a cup. That's 2 cups. So that is a pound of butter. That's an entire container of butter. So that's how much is going in here. So I'm going to put that in with the sugar. Hope everybody's having a great day today. I know the holidays, sometimes it gets really hectic. And I like doing this peppermint stick cookie recipe because just crushing up the peppermint sticks really relieves a lot of stress. And it's a wonderful cookie, and it makes your house smell like peppermint sticks, and it's fun to make. And my family and friends love this particular. When are you making the peppermint stick cookies? They always want to know. So, okay, so we have that. And now the next ingredient is, okay, so that's the first. It says cream the sugar and the butter together, and then it says add eggs and vanilla. So I'm going to put the eggs and vanilla together. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is add eggs and vanilla. So the recipe calls for 2 eggs plus 1 yolk. So I'm doubling the recipe, so I'm going to use 4 eggs plus 2 yolks. So what I did is I went ahead and I put my 4 eggs on one side, my 2 on the other. So I'm gonna go ahead and break up the 4 eggs, and then we'll get to the part where I'm just using the yolks. So I took a flour container and it's empty. I'm putting my trash in here. Just make things more convenient. Whatever you can do to save time and be more organized is always a good idea, whatever works for you. So, there's my eggs. And then, if you find that you got eggshell in, which I seem to do a lot lately, especially with these brown eggs for some reason, although I love the taste of the brown eggs when I can get them. You can't always get them. So I take the shell, and I actually get the shell out with the shell, because that seems to work well. A metal spoon sometimes works well as also. Okay, well, maybe I'm just going to have to go after it with my finger. Okay, so then it wants, and this is my least favorite part of this particular recipe, it wants 2 yolks. So the yolk, for those of you that just started baking, maybe you're a very young person starting baking, a yolk is the yellow part. So I'm going to put the white in here. So this is how I personally do it. You can use a egg separator. I have an egg separator. I really don't like it. I like to do it what I consider the old-fashioned way. So I will show you, this is how I do it. Of course, then there's my shell. I'll get the shell out later. Okay, so I need the yolk. So here it is, and I'm going back and forth between both the shells, and then I'm going to just put my yolk in there only and leave the white over here. And I'm making a mess. I'm going to do another one so you get an idea. Okay. We'll try again and see if I can show you better. Okay, so this is a little bit better. So I'm going to put my yolk here, and then I'm using the other yolk to strain out the white part. And I go back and forth and back and forth. And this is what this particular, and I'm also just doing this, holding this in, and then the yolk. This particular recipe, for whatever reason, this is how they want you to do it, and I've always done it this way. And I'm going to set my egg whites aside, and I might another day, after I've done a few recipes with the egg whites, I'm going to refrigerate the egg whites, and I'll maybe make meringue cookies out of it, so that's good. Or I might just cook it up and give the egg whites to my. Now it's time for the vanilla. And I always like to add my extracts, vanilla extract, whatever type of extract you're using, to my egg mixture. That's just how I like to do it. Different people have different ways of doing it. Okay, so the original recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm doubling, so I'm putting in 2 teaspoons of vanilla. 1, 2. So that's done. And then I'm going to take a fork and just mix, kind of pre-mix it ahead of time. Even though we're going to mix it in the mixer, I always do it this way. So I want it to mix very well. So I'm going to put in 8 cups of flour. That's a lot of flour. So I am definitely going to be counting this out loud. I don't want to lose track of my counting on this because you could really mess it up. So bear with me here. Now when measuring flour, you want to level it off with either a spatula or a butter knife. So you're going to level it off like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 cups of flour. So it will be a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to measure the salt over here because if I accidentally do too much, I don't want it to destroy the whole thing. So I'm doing a little bit less than that because I don't like stuff salty. But you need enough to make the baking soda work. So the next thing I'm going to be adding is baking soda. So this is very important, baking soda, not baking powder. Because if you add the wrong thing, it will turn out very strange. Is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm doubling it, so I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And with baking soda, you also level it off. So I use the actual box. So that's 1, 2. So now that's the dry ingredients. So I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to pre-mix it up a little. Hi, we are over at the mixer now, and what I have is the first thing I'm going to do is the butter and the sugar. I'm going to blend that together. And if your mixer has options, I want to show you which attachment to use. So you don't want to use this. That's to do like egg whites. That's a whisk. Don't want that. You don't want this one. That's for cakes. You want the dough hook, which is for cookie dough or when you make bread or any other type of dough. I used to use this one because I thought that this one was only for bread dough, and that's not the case. It is actually for any type of dough. So this is the one you want if you have that option. If you're using a hand mixer and you don't have that option, then just don't use the whisk, use the other one. So, but mine has 3 options. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going. And I personally always need my splatter guard because otherwise it's a big mess. So, okay, so we're gonna get this all mixed up. So when you're partway through, you want to take a rubber spatula. If you don't own a rubber spatula, it's a good investment if you do a lot of baking, like I do. You want to just scrape the sides. Make sure you don't have anything sticking. And then I'm going to continue. That's not done yet. Not ready for the next step. One of the most important things with baking cookies or baking anything is to mix things very, very well. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Okay, it's very well blended right now. I'll show you, see. Very well blended. So now the next step is to add, put this, everything back together. Okay, now I'm going to add the eggs and the vanilla, which is in this bowl here. Pour that in here. And I'm going to continue to blend this up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I stopped because it's sticking to the sides, and that just happens. I don't know of a mixer out there that it doesn't happen eventually. So you have to kind of go and scrape those sides a bit until you really get the dough. Then it stops sticking. But you want to have, part way through, scrape it. Okay, so I'm going to continue to go with this. Okay. So now it looks pretty good. It's about as mixed up as it's going to be with these two ingredients. Or these few ingredients, I should say. Okay, so now it's time to add the flour. Now when adding flour, you want to do it a little bit at a time. You wouldn't want to dump all that flour, baking soda, salt mixture right in because it would never mix appropriately. So I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. So I'm going to start it. It's very slow. And I'm just going to add that. Increase the speed a little. Scrape down the sides again. Scrape down the sides. Okay. Oh, I think I'm making a mess. Okay. If I'm not making a mess in the kitchen, I am not cooking. Okay. I think something went splattering that way. I'm going to mix it slightly, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of the flour. You don't want to add it when it's going too fast. You want to add it when it's going a little bit slower. Otherwise, your flour is going to go flying out. I'm going to add some more. A little, let's just blend it a little bit better. Push it down. Now this is a very, very large mixer. I think it's Oh, I don't know. It's pretty big though. So I was able to do everything in here, but some people might want to stick to the single batch recipe because I'm even going to have to eventually pour this into a larger bowl. But this is just for the purposes of mixing these ingredients. So I'm going to scrape this a little. Just making sure nothing's stuck to the bottom. That's the bottom and the sides. You want everything to mix well. I'm going to mix it just a little bit longer in here, and then we're taking it out of here and we're going to put it in the big bowl before we add the other goodies. This back here. Hopefully this goes up even. Okay. Alright. Because it's thick. It is definitely a thick dough, a thicker type of dough. Okay, I'm gonna mix it a little bit longer. Okay, so this is the consistency that we ended up with in the mixer. Okay? Now, even if you make a single batch of this particular cookie, you're still going to want to go ahead and hand mix in the pecans and the peppermint sticks. And I think it's easier to do in a very large bowl because you can get it mixed better. So I'm going to go ahead and scrape out the remainder of this. Rubber spatula. I'm doing this because you're wondering what I'm scraping it, making sure nothing sticks. Okay, so I got it like this. And this is where you're going to get an upper body workout. So it doesn't really matter if you want to add your pecans or your peppermint sticks first. I'm going to do the pecans first. And I got these gloves on because you can do it barehanded if you want. My skin's really dry right now, so I don't want to be doing it barehanded. But even if your hand's not dry, through the years I've learned that when you do this, the nuts and the peppermint sticks almost like will cut your hands. So it's just a lot easier to do it with a set of gloves on. So you have to just really mix this in because you want it well blended. And that's why you're going to use a big bowl. If you have a big bowl, hopefully you have a big bowl. Because, I mean, I've done it before in the past in the mixer, but this blends it better. You have more room to work with. And I'm just like turning, and so I'm burning off, maybe I'm burning off one of the cookies. At least I'd like to think that I am before I even try one. I'm burning the calories ahead of time because it's a workout to do this. So make sure you got the energy before you start on this one. And very fresh pecans, so it really starts to smell good, even just mixing in the pecans. I'm trying to get it so you don't want a whole bunch in any one spot. You want to very well blend it. So it's not even sticking to the bowl anymore. I mean, the dough isn't, because it's really blended nicely. Okay. So now that seems like it's pretty well done. Then I'm going to take my peppermint sticks that I had already measured out, and this is the 2 cups because I doubled the recipe. This is the part that is really kind of brutal on your hands because these peppermint sticks can be sharp when you're, especially when you're mixing them like this. You really want to mix it well. Now you might think, hey, this is a lot of work, but believe me, if you make this cookie, it is well worth the effort because they taste so good. And now the peppermint smell is starting to come into the air. I've made these before when I've gone ahead and bought extra peppermint sticks, and I've made them what I can call off-season. It's quite the treat. It's not Christmas time. You have some leftover peppermint sticks and you decide, I'm going to make cookies. It's a different month, and it's like, ah, these are so good. Oh, something very important I need to tell everybody. So I used to sometimes, I couldn't find the little peppermint sticks, so I used the big peppermint sticks. It does not work well at all. They're just way too thick. The consistency's not right, and they're going to be really hard, and it just doesn't work out well. So you do want the mini peppermint sticks. Don't go for the full size ones. I know a lot of people at the end of the season have leftover peppermint sticks and they try to do the cookies, and I've tried it a couple different times. It just doesn't work out well. So just, that's an important thing. And I've never tried the little peppermint candies. I've never tried that. I've always used these little ones, and like I said, when I tried to use the big one, did not work well at all, and really even harder on the teeth. This is just the perfect size. I almost got this all mixed up. I'd rather over mix it than under mix it because you want each cookie to have the right amount of pecans and the right amount of peppermint sticks. So if you're watching and you think to yourself, oh, she's got it mixed up already, why does she keep on going? The more I get this mixed up, the better cookie it's going to be. So I'm just about almost done. You can see it's really, none of the batter is sticking at all, which is a good thing. It means everything is really well blended. All right, so I'll be back in just a second and we'll start forming the cookie. So you need a little bit of flour in a bowl. You need a very flat glass because you're going to be pressing down the cookies. So I'm going to take some of this. I made one just to kind of get an idea. So this is probably maybe a little bit smaller than a golf ball size. A couple here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this back so you can see. I'm going to put, they're going to spread out. So I just start by just pinching off, and as much as possible try to make them the same size so that they cook at the same rate of speed, but they are going to spread out, so I'm not going to be able to put a lot on the cookie sheet at one time. So if you, I have a lot of cookie sheets, but if you only had a few cookie sheets while the cookies are cooking, you can make these circular balls and then just set them aside, and then they'll be ready to go when you pull the batch out. So I'm going to show right here what I'm doing, and then I'll continue to make some more. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take the cup, and I'm going to dip it in the flour. This way it doesn't stick. Make sure I have enough space, and I'm just going to press them down. And I'm going to pick one up just so that I can show you. I would normally do this. Just so I can show you the thickness. So that they're pretty thick. It's a pretty thick cookie. And I have preheated the oven for 350. And I'm going to pop these in the oven. And the recipe says about 12 minutes. I'm going to check it in about 10 minutes. And through the process of them cooking, I will show you the different, the progression of the baking so I can show you that they're not quite done yet and how they look when they're finished. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to make some more cookies and then pop these in the oven. Okay, so the recipe calls for 12 minutes in the oven. Everybody's oven's different. You have to make adjustments depending on you know, the rate how your oven cooks things and everything. So I'm going to go ahead, and it's been in there for probably about 5 or 6 minutes. So let's just take a look and see what this the cookies look like at this point. And I know for sure they're not done, but I just want to kind of give you guys a look-see. So there they are. Not ready yet, but they're getting there. All right, we will be back shortly to do another check. Okay, in case you missed my disclaimer about these wonderful cookies, I'm going to hold it up again. To me, the cookies are worth the risk. Okay, my 10-minute timer went off and it says 12 minutes. So we gotta double check and see what's going on with these cookies. It smells so good in my house right now. So let's just take a peek. I got ones in the so okay, so those candy canes are starting to melt. That's a good sign. We don't want to burn the cookies, but we don't want them raw either. So it's all about timing at this point. So what I'm gonna do, you guys can see, I'm gonna do what I call the switcheroo, and I'm going to put the top ones on the bottom and the bottoms on the top. And I'm gonna try to do this quickly so I don't have a problem. We are getting very, very close. And I'm gonna do, I have 2 ovens, so I'm gonna do the switcheroo over here. And they're getting really close, very, very close. Okay, I think one of the trays is ready to come out. Let's take a look. So I'm gonna adjust the camera. Some of these I just have to grab out really quick. Adjust the camera so you can see. Just a second here. Mouse will go a little longer. Okay, so you're going to adjust the camera. Okay, so what you're looking for is when it really starts, the peppermint sticks start to melt. You can see, I'm going to see if I can hold this up a sec. Let's see. Trying to show. There we go. See how it's starting to melt. Peppermint sticks are melting. It's done. So I'm going to pull out the rest of them. I'm going to put one on a plate and I'm going to try it out and let you all know how it tastes. Okay, I'm going to attempt to take one of these cookies off the cookie sheet. So I'm going to adjust the camera down so you can see. Now this is tricky with these type of cookies because you literally have the candy melt it, and so you need a very sharp spatula. So if you have non-stick, you're going to need to use something that's appropriate for non-stick. These are stainless steel cookie sheets, so it's a little bit different. But I took a very sharp metal spatula, and I just get under there, and then I just want to show you how it looks. So it's a little bit brown on the bottom, which is normal, and that's how it looks. And I'm going to just do a few of these. So you have to kind of just gradually work it off of your cookie sheet. And there's the other batch, which I'm going to check. Well, I'm right here. I'm just going to check. Okay, those cookies aren't done yet. Hopefully I'm going to go turn off the timer. Coming off pretty easy, which is a good thing. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test taste these cookies, or one of them, at least one of them. Start out with one. But I just want to tell you a little bit. So, these are a very delicious cookie with the first few days. I have a friend who loves to actually, when I give her the cookies, she eats some of them right when I give them to her. And then she sets aside a few of them. And she waits till they get really hard, and then she dips them in her coffee or in her milk, and she calls them Dunkaroos. So she actually literally sets aside some to get a little bit older so that she can use them. And so you know who that is. If she's out there watching this video, I know this is your favorite cookie. So anyway, I'm going to taste test them in just a sec. Of course it's moist. It just came out of the oven, and I love to eat my cookies warm. That's my favorite way to eat them. I can resist them once they've sat a day or even a couple hours, but when they first come out of the oven, I have a hard time resisting them. So I'm going to open this up and show you what it looks like in the inside. They come out perfect. They're very, very good. Very moist right now. They'll dry out a little. That's fine. They taste delicious that way too. Very, very good. Very, very, very good. I haven't had one since last Christmas, so it's a real treat. Thank you for watching. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you very much for that. And please like it and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And one more thing, my disclaimer. So my nephew was out of town, and he went ahead and I sent him cookies. He was working out of town. Sent him a box of cookies one year, and he ended up with a dental emergency. So that's why I have the disclaimer. So enjoy the cookies, be safe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.